What's up, everybody? Are you as excited as I am to draft in person? I was today. Felt really good today. If you caught the video from I think yesterday about my modern tournament results, I was very tired. Came into the local game store draft for Bloomburrow, well rested, so I was super stoked for it. So I'm gonna start this kind of live vlog recap thing, and so I actually took a couple live vlogs throughout my day drafting. I'll also break that up with a little bit of a review of the deck, and even picture evidence as proof, like, hey, this was the deck I drafted. So without further ado, let's jump into the first vlog, opening up my draft today. What's up, everybody? This is draft vlog number 1 for an IRL draft today, August 18th. It's a Sunday. I'll be splicing together a couple logs, for sure one at the beginning and one at the end. If I have time in between, I'll keep you updated. Feeling a lot better from yesterday, so if you caught my first modern tournament overview video, you probably saw me a little bit downtrodden. I was extremely tired on top of all of it. I didn't realize that until I went home, but was feeling pretty down about the results and discouraged. Got a good night's rest. I think I went to bed at like 8 o'clock. I was so tired, but got a good night's rest. Feeling quite a bit better. So I'm going to update you on today's draft. It's going to be Bloomburrow, where we'll kind of keep ourselves. A couple things I want to keep in mind when I go into this draft that I've learned from previous drafts is the value of removals. We want 2 or 3 point removals, spot removals, so we can get things out of the air. Maybe another 2 or 3 like combat tricks that can be removal or can protect a card. We obviously want to make our decision in our path within the first 4, maybe 5 picks that we have. So keep myself open, pick the most powerful cards in those first 3 to 5 picks, and then really kind of set yourself in to the archetype. And Bloomburrow has been great for that. It's really easy for that. You pick your squirrels, you pick your bats, you pick your rabbits, whatever it is, and then you just go with that and you go that hard and then look for that removal and look for those combat tricks. I think it's really user friendly or new player draft friendly format. So I've been really enjoying Bloomburrow, especially learning to draft seriously with Bloomburrow. Is just fortuitous timing. It's been really fun as well. I'm really looking to take this skill set to the next set as well. But until then, I'm going to be drafting in person, hopefully every Sunday if I can. And so I'll do more of these updates and keep everyone abreast to kind of how I'm doing. I'm going to also try to, I was really bad at it in the modern tournament, try to get a picture of the board state after each game within each match. If I manage to do that for every match that I'm in, I will definitely throw those up and do a review. And then same thing I did last time with my IRL draft is I'm gonna pull that up in Arena, show the cards I selected, and kind of do an overview. So stay tuned for the next draft log here. All right, so one of the first things right off the bat, I completely sucked at getting pictures of the board state after every match. I think I did it in like 1, maybe 2 of the games in each of my matches over the day. So a lot of those matches went really long. We'll talk more about those. But before I give you kind of a recap on the day, I think we should cover the actual deck. So I'm going to kind of turn over here so that we can take a look at our screen. First and foremost, I'm going to throw it up on the screen. Here is some picture evidence of the deck I had. I'll move it around just a little bit so that you can see I did draft all of these cards, but since they're kind of hard to see, I'm going to switch it over to what we did last time that we did a review. And you know what? My big old melon is in the way, so we're going to go ahead and hide that for this particular review. I don't have my green screen up, but this is the deck I ended up drafting. What really got me into squirrels right off the bat was that I got Scavenger's Talent, and I was like, okay, Scavenger's Talent's going to give me some way to make some food tokens That was one of my weaknesses in my last squirrel deck. Was I didn't have, like, it still did well. Like, I went 2-1 the last time I played squirrels, but I just didn't have a good way to make food tokens. So I really kind of focused on that and remembered that for this draft. Another thing that you might notice right off the bat is I did, again, same as the last draft, run a 41 card deck with 16 lands. One of those lands being Mudflat Village. Again, played really well into the squirrel meta. I actually used this to a great effect, actually. And I really was happy I was able to snag that particular land. So what were some other things that came around? So the next pack that really solidified for me what to do was the fact that I got Camellia. So I was super stoked because I felt like I was kind of struggling with squirrels a little bit. I felt like the couple people before me were taking the good black and green cards. But then when we moved to pack 2, I was able to rip Camellia, and I was like, all right, we're definitely in squirrels. But along the way, I was grabbing some Ravine Raiders. This actually was a really interesting card for me. It managed to get me some early damage in a couple matches where I was able to get my opponent down to 16 or even 14 life by turn 4. Because I just kept swinging, kept buffing, and they weren't able to get anything out fast enough. And the fact that it had Menace was really kind of troublesome for them. So actually, after I think my game 1 is when I went from 40 cards in my deck to 41 because I added another Ravine Raider. I actually had 4 Ravine Raiders drafted. A couple of those were forced. They were like the only black or green card I could take. So I was like, all right, I'll just take another Ravine Raider. Same thing with Agate Blade Assassin. This was something that was kind of forced upon me, so I didn't end up putting it in my main deck, but it could have had a place. It could have ticked away some life, but Ravine Raider was the one that actually ended up doing work, and I wanted to go from 2 to 3 to increase my chances of getting it in my first hand after like a game 2 or so, where I was able to get some, like, see the benefits of Ravine Raider down early. I was like, all right, yeah, we definitely want to do that. Another, we talked about Scavenger's talent. Another one here, Bone Cache Overseer. This one was interesting. Neither myself nor my opponent caught that I was doing this incorrectly. So this actually requires that you have either foraged or sacrificed a food token this turn, or you have foraged by discarding or exiling 3 cards from your graveyard. We were all kind of originally reading it as having 3 or more cards in your graveyard, but it's 3 or more cards left your graveyard, not left in your graveyard. So it was very subtle. We all kind of missed it. But about halfway through the day, I caught it and I started playing it correctly. But that one was interesting. But it got me a lot of card draw, was really important when I started to stall out, because Squirrels is a bit of a mid-range deck. So this actually got me a lot of card draw. I would say over the day, it got me double-digit card draw for sure. So really, really happy I had Bone Cache Overseer in my hand. Longstock Brawl, great little removal card. Also, the fact that it puts a 1/1 counter on a creature is, of course, gonna harmonize with Innkeeper's Talent. This was an immediate grab. I actually think it rolled to me. Somebody didn't grab it. Didn't grab it off the bat. So it wasn't me ripping a pack and it being the first option there. I think that card went by 2 or so people before it got to me, and I definitely snagged that up. We'll talk a little bit about some interactions that this was able to generate down the line. Stocking the pantry was nice for card draw again. Didn't give me as much card draw as Bone Cache did, because I just didn't see it that much, but I did manage to get, I don't know, 3 or 4 cards off of it, because I kept putting 1/1 counters on things because of Innkeepers, and so I had some good stacks in stocking the pantry. Bonebind Orator. This was another one. It would help me recur cards out of my graveyard. I was able to pull out some Daggerfang duos. That was really the big thing I was able to pull out was Daggerfang duos because I didn't have Camellia, but I was trying to keep that in the graveyard in case Camellia hit the graveyard, or a Corpseberry hit the graveyard. That would give me some options. Saver, nice little combat trick, gives me a food token. So again, we're trying to keep, how do we get more food tokens in mind? This was really nice. I was able to kind of take a couple flyers out of the air. The stupid 1/2 bat that you gain a life, it was a bane of my existence, but managed to rip it out of the air a couple times with Saver over a couple games. Cash grab came in huge because not only am I milling 4 cards, putting more cards in the graveyard, something for me to forage, but it was also gave me a card in hand and then a food token. So food tokens plus 3 cards, so essentially get me free two free, not free, but 2 forage opportunities because of cash grab plus getting a squirrel into my hand. We talked about Innkeeper's Talent. This thing is so powerful for squirrels, for any counter deck, really. Comes in for 2 cost. As you move into combat, put a 1/1 counter on everything, or a target creature. And then if you're at level 2, permanents you control have ward. That actually came into effect for me a couple times. People tried to target and they didn't have enough mana. And then the creme de la creme of this card, if you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. Not really relevant to this game, but something to keep in mind is that also applies to Planeswalkers, because the way Planeswalkers work is when they come into the battlefield, the counters are then applied to them, so they come in with twice the amount of counters on them, the loyalty counters. So a lot of times you can immediately ultimate your Planeswalker. And so this has been used to some really interesting effect. But when you use this in combination with Camellia, when I'm generating all these food tokens, paying 2, I'm foraging, I get to put a 1/1 counter on each other squirrel you control. And so if I have a bunch of squirrels down and I have Innkeeper's Talent at level 3, I am putting 2 1/1 counters on every single squirrel on my board, and it is just getting wide and big. So it is a really, really powerful little interaction there that I actually managed to get to pop off 2 or 3 times throughout the day. Thornfall Forager didn't actually really get to do much with this. It ended up just being a body most of the time. It was just a little too expensive to search my library for a squirrel card. I did manage to do it 1 time and went and got Camellia with my Innkeepers and managed to get the combo. So it did manage to do something 1 time for me. It did something crazy for 1 time, but it did do something. Bumbleflower share pot. I saw this and I was like, definitely, we need the food. So we grabbed this. This gave me the food. I actually was able to get the food off of this, and then later on use its sacrifice ability to destroy a creature. So that was really nice. It gave me removal as well as food, and I think for 2 mana for food was really good. And then it's a little expensive for removal, but some removal is better than no removal. Daggerfang duos were like the heroes for my deck. They kept the big boys at bay. I was able to buff them slowly with Innkeepers or Camellia, and I just managed to keep those on the board, and it kept people scared. And so the Daggerfang duo was definitely doing work. Plus the milling, I chose the mill every single time because I needed more cards to forage. Nocturnal Hunger, managed to use it 1 time. It's a decent cost removal. I gifted the food because I was low on health when I did use it the 1 time, but it ended up being mill bait more times than not. Druid of the Spade is another sneaky one. I really like it because if I have tokens on the board, it has trample and gets +2. So for a 3 mana, essentially 4/3, because I pretty much always have food tokens on the board, it was really nice. And then I was able to put counters on it because the Innkeeper made it nice and big and trample. So this thing got nice and scary on my board. We've talked plenty about Camellia. But one other thing I will point out about Camellia that we didn't talk about is other squirrels also have Menace. So it starts to become really hard to block a board of squirrels. And then whenever I sacrifice one or more foods, I create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. Didn't actually get to do that much with Camellia. Would make 2, maybe 3 squirrel tokens. Corpseberry, as always, in the food squirrel deck. This thing just pops off. Somebody was telling me that they snagged 1 or 2 of these as well, but didn't end up playing them, and I was a little upset because I was like, I really needed those. Treetop Sentries, MVP. Like, maybe even more so than Daggerfang Duo, MVP. Having just one of these on the board saved my butt so many times from flyers. I was able to buff it with innkeepers and keep it. I almost never attacked. I don't think I actually attacked with it. Never attacked with it. I set it on the board and I was like, you're not getting any flyers through. And so it saved me on a couple games that got really close. I think I got under 5 health. Ended up winning a game that way, because this protected me from their flyer that was trying to come in over the top. So this definitely got me a game for sure. Another interesting one, Thornplate. I like Thornplate. It's just a little too expensive. But I did manage to get me some good stuff. So managed to play it with the Offspring in one game. Got 6 life off of my opponent because they just chose to do that instead of discarding cards. No, actually, they discarded 1 card and took the 3. So I got a removal of the card out of their hand, and they took 3 life. And then now I had a 4/3 body on the board, which was really nice to have. And then in another game, I did just play it for its regular 4 CMC cost without Offspring, and got some health removal from there, and then just had a 4/3 body, which was really nice. Early Winters, these were kind of like my only choice for removal besides Savor and Bumbleflower and Longstock. I didn't get a lot of cheap removal. There was one opportunity to potentially get the Fell, which was like the 2 mana removal, but I had a stronger card choice in my hand. I ended up taking that, but it doesn't matter. Expensive removal is still removal. Exiled a couple cards that people kept trying to bounce back, so it definitely did work for me. Got a big old flyer out of the air, which are always this scary for me. So definitely worked out having Early Winter, even though it was expensive, and the fact that it's an exile instead of a destroy is huge. And then we talked about the mana base. I went with 16 lands. That Mudflat Village coming in clutch. I think I used it probably 2 or 3 times throughout the day to good effect, to pull the squirrel back out. Like I said, I pulled Daggerfang Duos out on several occasions just to have the scary body out there. So let's talk about some cards we skipped over or were just had to choose. So like I said, Ravine Raider, I had 4 of those. A Gate Blade Assassin could have been playable in my deck, but didn't really harmonize very well. These Changeling artifacts are actually kind of interesting. I really did want to keep them in because it's a 3 mana 2/3 with reach, and it's a squirrel. So it would get the benefit of Camellia. It has reach, which I think is important to have feathered in, or some ability to deal with the flying creatures. Plus, I can put a target card from my graveyard to the bottom of my library, which works really well with Thorn Vault Forager. So I can go search my library for a squirrel card. So being able to pay to take it out of my graveyard and put it into my library is actually pretty powerful. So that's why I ended up grabbing 2, because they were like the best squirrel choice at the time, and almost played them. Rush Shield Rampager was a hard cut for me because I do like the 4 mana 4/4. It can't be blocked by 2 or less, and there's a lot of 2 or less creatures in this draft. So oftentimes it just can't be blocked, and you're swinging for 4. Same thing with just the little 1/1. But we ended up having to cut that. We, of course, got gifted a bunch of lands. I got a couple islands, swamp, forest as the last card, or the only thing I could take. This was a hate draft. I was like, somebody's playing white in here, and I don't want them to have removal, so I pulled the Crumb and Get It. This was kind of just garbage I had to take. Same thing with 3-Tree Mascot, Mouse Trapper, Pearl of Wisdom, Reptilian Recruiter. Were all just kind of trash I had to take. So that was the deck. I was playing some of the interactions. So let's cut over to my vlog where I cover the results of the day. What's up, everyone? Coming back to you with IRL draft number 2, log number 2. I didn't get a chance in between my games. I had some absolutely long games today. They were, I had 2 of them go to time. So it was one game we only got 2 matches in, and it still went to time. So they were really long games. Some of it was chalked up to just some were grinders. Actually, all 3 of my games went to time. Some of them were just absolute grinders. And then one was, I had a newer player that took their time, really had to like read each card still and kind of think about what they were going to do. So I was sympathetic to that, but it went to time on the 3rd game. It wasn't as crazy as the one that went to time in only 2 games. But overall on the day, first game, I ended up losing 2-0. That was the one that went to time in 2 games. We really had to like think through our moves. It was really strategic, but they were playing red-green raccoons. And just was able to put down threats I couldn't deal with, made their board go wide, feathered in some rabbits that made the board go wide, and I just couldn't do anything. My deck wouldn't go off, so I was actually playing black-green squirrels. Couldn't get any generation, couldn't get any buffs. Like, it was a slow go. Didn't have time to get the sort of mid-range game plan working with the squirrels in game 1. Game 2 was against, not even quite sure what they were trying to do. It was like birds. It was white, green, and blue. It was a mix of like birds and frogs, and it didn't really have a very cohesive game plan. It was 3 color for seemingly no reason. This was the person that was newer. So I think they struggled a little bit with the draft. They were really new. I think they were telling me that they've only been playing for like less than a month, like 2 or 3 weeks. So completely sympathetic to it, but I just didn't know what to expect, because it was just like a bunch of random cards being played, and those are sometimes the scariest decks, because you're like, I don't even know how to play or think ahead. I just have to react to what's on the board. But that one ended up going into game 3, ended up getting nice and wide, and made that one pop off. And then last game was against it was rabbit, so it was green white, but they had splashed red in because they have that 3 color rabbit. I forget the name of the 3 color rabbit. It's sort of their bomb in their deck, so they splashed red. I won the first game. Second game they won. They just kept pinging me with this stupid bird, and it was just wrecking me. Or bat. It was a bat, not a bird. But just kept wrecking me, and there's nothing I could do about it. Got me nice and low. And then game 3, we technically went to time. So I don't know if this wouldn't be legal in like an actual tournament, but in just like an LGS draft. Since it was the last game, we were the last 2 people here. They weren't waiting for us for any other reason. We technically went to time, and we both agreed like, hey, this game is really close. We'd love to play it out. We asked the tournament organizer, and they said, yeah, go ahead, finish and play it out. So we ended up only playing out maybe 5 more turns after the 5 turn counter. But I ended up managed to just get nice and wide, and kept going wide, and then buffing my squirrels with Camellia and Forage and Innkeeper's Talent. He killed that Innkeeper's Talent early, though, so I didn't get a lot of benefit from Innkeepers. I did in game 1. I had Innkeepers and Camellia going off, and all my squirrels were just huge and swinging. But in game 3, killed my Innkeeper pretty early, and then Camellia, though, was able to start doing some work. I started getting some of the 2 1 colorless 1 green card that allows you to mill 4 cards. I got a couple of those, so I was putting stuff into the graveyard, making food tokens, He was killing a couple of my creatures, and then I had the other black enchantment that every time a creature died, I got a food token at least once per turn. So had some ways to forage and buff the squirrels, and a little bit of recursion, pulled some Dangerfang duos out of the graveyard as well. So that was keeping him at bay, because I was able to block a couple of his big creatures that he had buffed up. He was still getting in a ton of damage with the dang 1/2 bat that anytime a creature entered, he got 1 life. It was almost won him the game, but I just went too wide and started swinging and just like taking out his board, and eventually I was just getting too much damage through, and I took game 3 out of that one. So on the day, I lost the first match going 0-2. Second game, I went 2-1, and then third game, I went 2-1 again. And as some of you know, if you caught my last video, I do like to treat myself to a collector booster for every win. But what I think I'm gonna do, since those collector boosters are like 20, 25 bucks, I'm gonna pocket those wins, and I'm gonna save them up and get a box, and then maybe do some rip videos. Start ripping some packs here. Maybe just for some shorts or something. I don't know. But just closing out our IRL draft log number 2. Thanks for checking in with me and seeing how the draft day went. Until next time, we'll catch you at the table. What an absolute ride. I hope you enjoyed the journey as much as I did. Covering the deck, my choices, the interactions, recap of the day. I'd love to know your thoughts. What are you drafting at your local game store? What are you drafting in Arena? I want to know what your preferred archetype is, and let me know how you like these type of videos, and what other ideas that you might have of different things I could cover. I'm all ears right now. I'm trying to put out as much content that you find interesting as I can, because a lot of it is documentation. It's my journey to become pro, or my path to pro, and drafting is part of that. So you're going to see a lot of arena drafting with my bronze to mythic runs, my LGS recaps of draft, as well as my tournament results in draft. I did my, not draft, but my tournament results in modern, as it is modern season, and that was the video that was released yesterday. So if you enjoy this, like, subscribe, all the interaction, it helps the algorithm, gets out to more people who love Magic the Gathering and may be interested in following along in my journey. So until next time, as the last clip said, we'll catch you at the table.